Alright. Hello, welcome back to the Equipment Corner. This is the third time trying to record this video. First time, I didn't even press record. Good job, me. Second time, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Some guy rolled up. I don't get it. I was holding the shotgun. There's stuff going on behind me. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. So, this has been a rough go of it so far. But here we go. Last take, third time's charm. Let's figure this out. Today we're going to be talking about shotguns. What should you get? What caliber gauge should you get? All this cool, interesting stuff. Alright, I've already been over it twice. I should be good at it now. Alright. First off, what are you using it for? Who's hunting? Alright, if you're using it for mostly ducks or upland game like doves, pheasants, grouse, there's a lot of debate on what you should use. So people are like, oh, I use a 410 for everything, I use a 10 gauge for everything, which is a 10 gauge, really, man? But my opinion, there's only two real choices. It's 20 and 12 gauge, and of course it depends on your situation. 20 gauge for me, that's what I grew up on. If you're a kid, that's probably what you should use. Just saying. 12 gauge if you're going to be, like 20 gauge if you're going to be going after more upland stuff, more just ducks, especially in the south because it doesn't get as hot down there, and by the time the ducks have reached that part of the migration, they're usually pretty thin anyway. 20 gauge is the way to go in my opinion. Now, what do I know about anything? I have been duck hunting since I was like 5 years old. I grew up in duck blinds. I mean, some of my earliest memories are in duck blinds. I've actually been behind a gun since I was probably about 10 years old. So I've got about a decade of experience when it comes to duck hunting. Obviously, I mean, that's not that long, but it's longer than maybe some people are thinking about getting into duck hunting, and I'm not going to discount that. Like I said, but if you're in an area like me where you don't know what you're going to do on any given day, like if you don't know if you're going to go duck hunting, goose hunting, pheasant hunting, things like that, honestly, the best all around is 12 gauge. Everybody knows that. I mean, I'm not really breaking any new ground here, but what it comes to is then 12 gauge or 20 gauge. Like I said, if you're a kid first starting off, 20 gauge is the way to go, in my opinion. I learned on 20 gauge. Most people I know learned on 20 gauge. Still killed stuff. I've killed stuff as small as ruffed grouse, which is like the smallest bird that we get around here, all the way up to a crane, a sandhill crane. So it's not the gun, it's the shooter for the most part. I think I got lucky too with that 20 gauge. Just saying. Anyway, brings on what should you buy? 20 gauge, 12 gauge, to me it does not matter. 870 Express if you're going to be hunting with it. There's no better shotgun on the market, in my opinion, in the opinion of most other people. And I mean, I've used it. I don't use it now. I'll tell you what, I'll get into what I've used in the past. Tried and true. My dad's had one since like the 70s or 80s. The only problem with it is it's been used so much that some of the wood's starting to wear away, that we have to keep tightening down a nut to make sure it keeps running. Like, that's like the only failure point, and it's not really even a failure point. It's just degrading wood. Like, that's the only problem with it. I know people that use 20 gauge killed a bunch of stuff with it. 20 gauge 870s. People might bring in the argument, oh, maybe a Mossberg 500, but I'd spend the extra money, get an 870 Express, last you the rest of your life. It's got that track record. I don't know too much about the post buyout stuff now, and that could be a problem, but from everything I've seen, I mean, the post buyout stuff is just about as good quality as the pre-buyout. And what I mean by that is Remington went out of business. People bought the company, kept the legacy going, so to speak, so they still make all the same stuff. Shotgun I use is not a Remington, but from what I heard too is they have plastic trigger guards, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that was 4 years ago when I read about that for a research paper on this exact subject I had to do. So it could have changed now. They could have gotten better trigger guards. I mean, at the same time, it is what it is. If it doesn't really affect the function of the gun, who cares? That leads into what I have used throughout my 10 years of duck hunting is what I'm gonna focus on, because that's what I do mostly with it. with shotguns, and I've used everything, man. I've semi-autos, pumps, hell, even a bolt. I started with a Winchester with a Marlin Model 55. For those of you who do not know, it's a bolt action 20. This one was a bolt action 20 gauge shotgun. They do make them in 12. They did make them in 12 gauge. They don't make them anymore. But bolt action 20 gauge shotgun, attachable 2-round box magazine, so 2+1. Great shotgun. Like I said, killed a lot of stuff with it. Killed everything from rough grouse to a crane with it. The only things that I haven't killed that are around here that we go for consistently are sage grouse and pheasants. And I'd like to I might have an opportunity to get one this year. But I loved it. That's what I started with. And then around like 11 or 12 years old, actually probably 12 or 13 years old now that I'm thinking about it, I started switching over to 12 gauge, but it was only 2 3/4 because of the shotguns we had at the time. We only had one shotgun, that 12 gauge that shot 3-inch, and that was my dad's. And so I used a Super X until that kind of failed me, and then I switched to an 870 in 2 3/4 until one Christmas I got an 870 Express, exactly the same as my dad's. 12 gauge, I think it was 28-inch barrel, 3-inch chamber, like everything was the same. And I literally had my dad's gun except a few generations newer, wood stock, everything was the same. And I ran that for a long time, up until last year. And that brings me on to what I use now. And the only reason I have this is my dream gun. It's a little weird for people because they're like, oh, it's a kitted out AR-15 or a kitted out like long range gun. No, for me, it's a shotgun. I have to thank Duck Commanders for that, and it is this. I wanted to get a 16 gauge. This is 12 gauge. This is a Browning A5 12 gauge shotgun, and this is my dream gun. I've been wanting one of these since I was in 8th grade, and I finally got one now. And I hunted with it for the first time last year, opening day. I think I went 6 for 8 because you're allowed 8 ducks here. You're allowed 2 blue-winged teal over the limit in this part of Wyoming, in the Central Flyway in Wyoming. So game wardens don't come after me because I was legal. But I think I went 6 for 8. I got a 3 in 1. And I didn't miss too much with this shotgun for first time hunting with it. Like, I shot it a couple times before because obviously, but first time ever hunting with it, and I was killing it. They always say, you know, never meet your heroes because they're never what you'd expect or something along those lines. And I think this is the exception, not the rule, because this fits me just the way I want it to. This humpback, people say it doesn't matter, people say it does. For me, put my head down on the gun, it lines up with this. Like, the way I hold it, the way everything's set up on it, it's just like perfect. It goes right where I want it to go every time. This is my dream gun, and it hasn't disappointed me yet. I will go over a little bit more on it, but like I said, these are a pretty penny. Like I said, the only reason I had it, I saved up my money for one. Like, since I was like a freshman in high school, I was saving up for one of these. And once I finally had the money for it, I went to gun stores, I went online, I went everywhere, try to find one. Nobody had one. As you know, I go and hunt in Pennsylvania for their spring turkey every year. I got a video of that out on the channel. And we're coming back 2 years ago now. Stopped at Cabela's in Cindy, Nebraska. For whatever reason, this was the only one in the country. I don't know why. Like, I couldn't find these anywhere. This isn't the one I wanted. I wanted Blades camo, so like cattail type camo, like duck, like waterfowl camo. This is the only one they had, and I was a little disappointed because it's not exactly what I wanted, but at the same time, it was there, it was available, it was accessible, like, it was there, you know, it was in front of me. So I just said, you know what, when am I going to have another chance at buying one of these? And now they're everywhere, which is like, oh, thanks, obviously, because of course they are. But I think it's a great camo. It fits everything that I do great. I mean, turkey hunting, duck hunting, goose hunting, I've done everything with it. I think the camo actually works out fine. Blades camo is kind of limiting. It's only if you're going to be going waterfowl hunting on the banks of rivers. So, and even then, like, I mean, we use willow blinds and stuff. We use willow in our blinds and things like that. So this actually lines up really good. This is, I think, mossy oak bottomland. But, man, I mean, looking back now, hindsight 2020, I'm really glad I picked this up. I don't regret not getting a blades camo one. This is perfect. This is great. I love it. It's great for what I do. Fits in everywhere. It's awesome. Like I said, it's my shotgun. Like, it's just, I have trouble talking about it because, like I said, it is my hero. And then I finally got to meet him. Essentially, like, using that analogy, I finally got to meet him, and he's every bit of what I thought he was going to be. It's not anything that, there's nothing I don't like about it other than the human error side of things, because sometimes I suck. One of the problems is I do have a 3.5 inch chamber. For those who don't know, you have 3 different sizes of shotgun shells. You have more than that, but 3 main ones, 2 3/4, 3 inch, and 3.5. I did get 3.5 because I do a lot of goose hunting, so like that is part of it, and I got that for that. So the one problem is it doesn't really cycle 2 3/4 sometimes. It has jammed on me a couple times when I'm running 2 3/4. Luckily, I'm not hunting with it when I do shoot 2 3/4, so it's like, it's negligible. One of the problems that I did see, one of the things that people were having problems with, which I haven't had problems with, is 3.5 won't cycle. I took this, my dream gun on my dream hunt, which on one of my bucket list hunts, was a spring snow goose. Brought it on that, performed flawlessly, didn't jam, shot I think 5-6 geese with it. Snow geese are great, by the way. Don't read into the thing where they say sky carp. Snow geese are good. I love them. I wish I could go hunt there again this year, but I don't know if I'll have the chance to. I got paint on my gun, which it's gray, so it's fine. But yeah, like I said, so going back to what I said, if you want to spend a lot of money, would I buy this? No, probably not, because like I said, this is, I mean, if you're gonna buy a shotgun, buy an 870. Would I buy this if I was buying a shotgun for the first time? No, not at all. Even though it is semi-auto, it's really nice, yada yada yada. Buy an 870. The only reason I have this and I'm not hunting with an 870 is this is literally my dream gun. I found it. I had the money for it. I had been saving up since I was a freshman in high school for it. I finally got it when I was a sophomore in college. Like, this is, or not even sophomore, it's junior in college. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, you know, my shotgun, there's a lot more to it than just being a shotgun for me, personally. And, yeah, so, there's that. Like I said, I would just run an 870. They can run just about anything. The only thing that I have run into issues with, and it's both me and my dad's gun, so 30-40 years apart, if not more, is they don't really like to run Black Cloud. And if you're a diehard Black Cloud guy, maybe you go for something else. But I love this shotgun. Would I buy it? No. If you have a lot of money, if you want to spend a lot of money, buy a Benelli. Or, I mean, hell, you could buy this if you really felt like it. But like I said, it does cost quite a bit of money. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone's first shotgun. Anyone's first shotgun, I'd say 870 Express, either 20 gauge or 12 gauge. You make the choice. If it's for your kid, 20 gauge. If you're going to be hunting a lot of like smaller animals, 20 gauge. If you're going to be like me and you live out in a place where you got as high a likelihood as ducks coming into your spread as geese, get a 12 gauge. But like I said, I love this. Would I buy it if I didn't have that like dream factor into it? No. I just see it as another shotgun, right? However, like I said, if you're gonna buy one, if you're gonna buy something super expensive, I've heard and I've seen that the Super Black Eagles from Benelli are really good, and the Black Eagle lines are really good. As if you want a pump, like an expensive pump, Nova, Supernova are really good from Benelli. Again, Benelli makes really good shotguns. I can't argue with that. They're probably one of the best shotgun makers in the world. I know some people might be upset about that, but honestly, if you just want a shotgun that'll last the rest of your life, get an 870. I said that's what I started with. But kind of breaking down this into this a little bit more, this is something I do want to address, is like what I use. I have a improved modified choke in mind. So choke is a little thing inside that controls your pattern. It works well for this gun. It patterns really well for this gun. In the round shells I use Kent cartridge fast steel 2.0. They're 4-shot. I mean, there's a shotgun shell in the back of my car, but it's 4-shot, 3-inch, and I think they're traveling at 1,300 feet per second. So like that's what I use. You might want to use something different. My dad, I have no problem with it, and that's what I grew up hunting with. Is he shoots Super X, Winchester Super X, 4-shot, 1,500 feet per second, 3-inch. Like, it's just different. I like those. I kill a lot of ducks with those. He kills a lot of ducks with what he uses in his gun. But like I said, that's what works for me. Honestly, Winchester Super X, if you're going to be getting shotgun ammo, great shotgun. Some people don't like it. I'm not one of them. I think it works great. I grew up using it. But yeah, so that's my opinions on what type of shotguns. So like I said, 20 or 12 gauge is really the only two options. 12 gauge is really the only option if you're really thinking about it. But like I said, if you're gonna be shooting really close stuff, a lot of smaller stuff, mostly ducks, stick with that 20 gauge. If you're like me, you hunt a lot of geese, you hunt a lot of ducks, you hunt a lot of like bigger birds, stick with 12 gauge. I mean, they both work well. I've killed, I mean, one of the biggest birds in the United States, I mean, sandhill crane, I've shot with a 20 gauge. So it's, you know, at that point, it's not necessarily the person, not necessarily the gun, it's the person behind the gun. But yeah, 20 gauge, 12 gauge, 870 Express. I'm pretty sure the post buyout ones are just as good as the pre-buyout ones, and they'll last you the rest of your life. I mean, my dad's shotgun is a testament to it. He's been using it, like I said, since the 70s or 80s. Still going strong. Hell, I mean, he killed turkey with it last year. He's been killing ducks and geese and pheasants with it this year. So it's like, doesn't show any signs of slowing down. Barrels don't get shot out. I mean, same shotgun with the same choke for 30, 40 years, if not longer. So can't really argue with that track record. And there's plenty other shotguns out there that are like that. So hopefully it wasn't too rambling. Hopefully I wasn't gushing too much over my shotgun. Like I said, it's a lot more than a shotgun to me, because it is my dream gun. I finally got what finally met my hero, and he was every bit of my hero as I thought he was going to be. So it's using that analogy. So that was great. So that's where I'm at. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. The rifle one I think is a lot better quality, a lot better information, just a lot more nuanced. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.